I beg your pardon?
Be a chant?
No, not at all.
Has this been, Pona been tried on the
Creator,
hostages?
T-O-R. I beg your pardon?
Has the Pona been tried on the hostages?
On the hostages? Well, this is an interesting thing. In my work at Pearl Harbor, I had a course. Pearl Harbor wanted to have me teach their people there. And it was interesting that I told them that one of the things I'd like to do was to have them cleanse Pearl Harbor since we're there. And we know that a lot of the spirits are still in the Arizona. So I think wherever they are, we should learn to clean the place up. However, one of the, I think it was just the second night of my session, a young lady walks up and she said, I'm very much concerned about Iran, and I'd like to know if we can do something about Iran and hostages. Well, we must look at the thing from many directions. What are the hostages there? Is it a karmic situation for them? We have to also look at that. So we did do what we could. But the way I feel that in doing Ho'oponopono, a lot of people will say you're doing what you feel you want to do to be established so that you want to get the result you want. I do not. All I want is justice. Whatever it is, like the other case we had, the students at the university said, well, doing Ho'oponopono couldn't be a real good thing because that boy got scot-free, then it wasn't right because he broke the law. And I said, no, because according to the appearance of the whole case, that boy was not wrong because there was no sign showing on a wet, rainy night that there was a curve at that part. So that negligence on the Department of Transportation created that. So when we were doing the Ho'oponopono at school that night, see, everybody had already memorized this, and so they were able to just close their eyes, do Ho'oponopono themselves, and then those on the board, and then them. All of a sudden, I could see this procession of spirits walking. This young man walked in, and he's holding his head. Well, I didn't know who he was. It was a Caucasian boy. Then after him were hundreds and hundreds of souls were walking in. Some in a class, I'm sure, were able to see. But as they got in, and when we got to the last part of the prayer, they all moved out, and all you could see is a beam of light going out as each one went. Couldn't see the body, but just flicker of light moving out. And the last one was a young man. Now the reason was he was the one that triggered. These people would still be earthbound. Now if his case had not come up, we would not have unearthed those people, but we could not touch anything beyond that scope. We were just isolating this case in one specific spot. So all the people in that area for eons of time came in on a boat ride, and they left as a beacon of life and released. So it was done at that time. So as a result of that, the case was postponed to create that poor period of rest, and then when the case came up again in court, he was acquitted because everybody was put in that state of balance. The spirits who were departed and earthbound, the young man, the family, and all other situations. Even though the state and the police had experts on the case, but none of them won because the judge gave the acquittal to the young man.
You want me to start for part two?
Yes, please. Just maybe you have to cheer. Yeah. Yes.
May I just ask one thing?
Thank you.
There has to be feeling going to this in order for it to work, doesn't it? And how can you get your whole class to put the proper feeling behind it?
No, I did not have to condition them.
Just the words will do it without the feeling?
Well, I think when you have a case like that, and the question is, do we have to have a feeling from the class to have the input? If one person was doing the Ho'oponopono correctly, the others wouldn't even matter. Oh, yes, it didn't require a mass. It just required one. The only purpose I did that was so everyone would kind of get into the flow. And then once this is programmed into your computer, you do it about 3 or 4 times, and then the computer says, look, I know all of that prayer already. So we use Ho'oponopono as the trigger point. So whenever you say, Divine Creator, Father, Mother, Son as one, I wish to do a Ho'oponopono between myself and John Doe and myself. Sever, cut, and transmute. Now the word transmute. All these unwanted negative memories, blocks, vibrations, and energies to pure light. It is done. It's completely finished at that moment. And it is done.
It doesn't have to go from the
No,
lower
but
self
this
to
one
the
you're
higher
doing
self.
it to program. Like when you have a computer, you program it. You put all the information you need into the program. But some people's computers are not as apt to absorb it rapidly because you are reconditioning yourselves. So many of us have had to go, we're Catholics, Mormons, Buddhists, Shintoists, whatever we are. We have certain affirmations to do, certain mantras to do. So we've been conditioned that way, and to kind of go into this is a little difficult for some. So I say if you do this 4 times, you should have programmed it into your computer so that all you do, Ho'oponopono, it pulls out the ticker, Ho'oponopono, between who and who, Mr. John Doe and Mary Jane and John Doe. Then you do the other, and when you say it is done, it's automatically out of your computer. So the part is that you're able to do it in absentee makes it a lot better. Now I had a Ho'oponopono for this young lady who had come over from the mainland. She was probably divinely guided to come here, left her car in the middle of the highway, got the United Airline plane, got here, went to stay at her family's home. And they realized she was possessed. So they called me. Well, I couldn't go there sooner, so I was going the next day. So I suggested a Ho'oponopono, so they got families from the mainland, families from the other side of the island, families from here. So we gathered a large group. As I looked at all this family, I realized that the families were so fragmented that it was almost difficult to do a Ho'oponopono. So what is the alternative that you have? At that moment, I had to decide what to do. So I got a piece of paper, pad, passed it around, and they wrote their names, their families, their relatives on that piece of paper. So by the time they got to me, they did not exist. They did not exist as far as I was concerned. They existed on this piece of paper. Because if I had to go through the normal procedure of Ho'oponopono, we'd have confrontation. Well, anyway, about halfway through my talk, one woman said, oh, I'm going home. The other one says, I can't be bothered. See, you've gotten the resentments already. So irrespective of their feelings, I'm pulling it out of their computer. It does not matter. Because of the fact that they've shown their resentment, it doesn't concern me. Because I'm taking them collectively. They're all represented on this sheet of paper. And so it's the same thing that you're doing in absentee. You don't care who they are. But as long as their names are on, this is the contact point, is their name. Are they, yes.
Morrnah, with these lost souls, why wouldn't their family god or their guardian angel or whatever term